Let's get started building the Connect 4 project. Here I have some simple code which we have seen many times before. Basically, I'm importing the turtle, I'm setting the screen, and when I run this code, I get a screen like this. Now, the thing that I want to focus on, because that's somewhat new, is this whole thing about setting the world coordinates. First, however, let's start from this setup of the screen, which is 800 times 700. Now, I have chosen a large screen because I want to make the rectangle, the board quite large and very nicely visible to the player. Now, of course, 800 times 700 is just a choice. But if I were to just look at, let's say, the screen size of this, it tells me it's 780 times 680, quite close to what I've given. Perhaps there's some setting, which is rendering it to this shape. Now, really, we don't need it this large, especially on the vertical side, but that's okay. The important bit that I've done is that I have used what is called the world coordinates. Now, what this does is something very interesting. I am telling the turtle screen that look, even though the size is 800 times 700, I would want this to be seen as a, let's say, screen with coordinates on the left corner being minus 500, minus 500, and on the top right corner being 500, 500. Now, by doing this, I am basically setting up my game in a specific coordinate system, which I will use later on as I build the game. However, let's just understand what this means. So I have here a small function. When I click anywhere on the screen, it's going to print the X and Y coordinates of, let's say, the mouse at that point of time. In fact, we will use the on-click method later on in the game itself, but here is just a very simple demonstration. So when I come in here, notice if I click on the top right corner, it prints something very close to 500, 500. That's because by setting the world coordinates, I'm telling the turtle that look, I want this top right corner to be 500, 500, and I want the bottom left corner to be minus 500, minus 500. However, when I click this, you notice I get something like minus 500 and minus 266. The reason is the screen is in fact a lot larger than what we are seeing here. Remember, it's almost like a square, 780, 680, but this looks much rectangular. That's because the entire screen is not being displayed here, but that doesn't bother us because our board will end up occupying, let's say, this part of the screen. Now, you might wonder if that is the case, why do I need such a large, let's say, let's say, height of the screen? Well, you are absolutely right. In fact, you can experiment with this. You can probably make it just about the right size, but this is also okay. It works, and that's why I leave it with this. The important bit here really is this world coordinates, where we are saying that look, no matter what is the size of the screen, I'm going to treat this as 500, 500, and that is in on at the bottom left to be, let's say, minus 500, minus 500. So this is the bottom left and this is the top right. So these two kind of constrain my screen. We will use this as we render the board later on. That's the important point. Everything else, you can kind of experiment a bit to make sure that the screen is just nice. Before I wrap this up, I just want to highlight that when we set this world coordinates like this, we may be introducing some kind of distortion on the screen, because remember, the width of the screen is only 800 pixels, but we are thinking of this to be, let's say, 1000 pixels. So there is some kind of scaling going on, but in this game, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, we will account for all of this when we build our game board. I hope this has been clear to you. This is the base from where we'll start. But this setting world coordinates is something interesting, so I wanted to highlight that. As always, we realize that just reading about concepts, reading about all these code options available to us doesn't really add up unless we try them in activities. And that is what we do in YByte. We learn programming through fun activities. Look at our website, www.ybyte.in, because you will find many, many, many such activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.